Shalom and welcome to Jerusalem Hebrew's weekly reading of the first three verses of each week's Torah reading. This week's Torah reading is Parashat Terumah, Exodus chapter 25 verse 1 through chapter 27 verse 19. Repeat after me. I will read in the transliteration and then in the Hebrew text. Why the ber, where you see a symbol over a vowel that lets you know which syllable, which part of the word to accent. So instead of why da ber, it's why da ber. If you see a dot under a D, that lets you know that this is a Hebrew letter Dalid lacking a dot in the middle of it. Imagine this dot under the D as if the dot that's normally in the middle of the word, in the middle of the letter in Hebrew, fell down. Okay? So when you see the D with the dot in it, you would pronounce it in the classical way as a dalid with no dot, which is the sound of a TH in the word they or them. So, why zaber, Adonai, Adonai, Moshe, Moshe, Lemor, Lemor. This L is bolded to let you know it is geminated. That means you extend the consonant sound of this letter longer than normal. We are looking here at the advanced transliteration, and this is one of the features of the advanced transliteration, helps you to remember which consonants are geminated. So now let's look at it in the Hebrew. Vayzaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. And at a somewhat more natural pace. وَيَذَبَرَ أَذُنُوي الْمُسَلِّمَةِ. Number 2, verse number 2, Pasuk Haba, next verse. From the Hebrew, Daber Daber el, Bnei Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, وَيِقْحُوا, وَيِقْحُوا. The Q, as opposed to a K, lets you know that this is the letter Quf, as opposed to the letter Kaf. K would be for Kaf, Q is for the letter Quf. And the English letter Q actually historically derives from this letter of Proto-Hebrew. وَيِقْحُوا لِي, وَيِقْحُوا لِي تَرُمَاه, تَرُمَاه. Me'ef, me'ef, kol, kol, ish, ish, asher, asher, yidvannu, yidvannu. This letter N is bolded. It lets you know that in the Hebrew there is a dot inside of the consonant indicating gemination. Yidvannu. Libo, libo. Tiqhu, tiqhu. F, F. The T with a line under it lets you know that it is the letter Tav with no dot. That's pronounced as a TH, like in the word think or thought, as opposed to the Daled with no dot, which is like the TH in the words they or them. So F, F. Terumathi, terumathi. Let's read it in the Hebrew. Daber, daber el bene Yisrael, Yisrael. ويقحوا لي, ويقحوا لي ترما, ترما. مئف, مئف. كل إيش, كل إيش. أشير, أشير. يدفنوا, يدفنوا. لبو, لبو. تقحو, تقحو. أفتروماثي, أفتروماثي. Let's read it one more time at a little bit more of a natural pace. دبر البني إسرائيل ويقحوا لي ترما مئف كل إيش أشر يدفنوا لبو تقحو أفتروماثي. Pasuk Haba. Next Pasuk. From the transliteration, Wezeth, Wezeth Hateruma, Hateruma, Asher, asher tiqhu, me itom, zahav, وخاسف وخاسف unhurshaf unhurshaf. The dot under the H lets you know that this is not a silent H, as is often in English at the end of vowels. And it's also to let you know this is not the sounded H, like the letter he, but rather this is het. It is a constricted guttural sound. It is produced by constricting the muscles in your throat. Unhurshaf. But if you struggle to pronounce ha, it is better to pronounce it like a regular H than like a sound, which is the sound of chaf, and the popular mispronunciation of the letter het in Ashkenazi Hebrew, and recently adopted by most Sephardic Jews in Israel upon learning modern spoken Hebrew from European Jewish teachers of spoken Hebrew. In all historical communities of the Middle East and North Africa, they pronounce this letter as a h, unheshef. Also, in ancient Mishnaic and Talmudic literature, the sages of ancient Israel complained about people confusing this letter het and mispronouncing it as the letter H. They do not mention it being confused for the letter chaf. That means that in their time, also, the letter het was more similar, more likely to be confused for the letter he, as opposed to being confused for the letter chaf, as European Jews have done. And who can blame them, because Semitic languages are not spoken to any significant degree on the continental Europe or the Eurasian European Peninsula, however you want to call it. There are no widely spoken Semitic languages there, and this phoneme, the sound of the letter het, is not significantly represented anywhere there. So it makes sense that after well over 1,000 years there, that over time the correct pronunciation of this letter het would erode. Now let's read it in the Hebrew. Wizuth hat-terumah, asher tiqhu, me itam, zahav, wachasef, zahav, wachasef, zahav, wachasef. Unhurshaf, unhurshaf. One more time at a more natural pace. Wizath hat-terumah asher tiqhu me'itam zahav wachasaf unhurshaf. Now for the 5 key words taken from the first 3 verses of this week's Torah reading. Parashat Terumah. Number 1, daber. Daber means speak. It's the singular masculine imperative form of the verb to speak. Daber. Number 2, وَيِقْحُوا, وَيِقْحُوا. وَيِقْحُوا means they shall take. The letter Yud at the beginning means it is third person. The wall, the W at the beginning just means and. I probably should have added the word and here, but I didn't. I can update that later. وَيِقْحُوا. So the Yud, the Y sound, lets you know it's third person. The U at the end lets you know it's plural. So plural third person. What do we call that in English? They. They is plural third person. Quick review. First person is your first point of reference. That is when you are speaking as yourself or as part of a group that you belong to. That is first person. Second person. And by the way, the pronouns of first person are like I and us. I is singular first person. Us or we are plural first person, your first point of reference. Second person is your second point of reference, the person you're speaking to. So pronouns for second person in English are like you or y'all, okay? And then third person refers to people you are speaking about and you are not speaking to them directly. That is what we call third person. In English, the equivalence of that in pronoun form would be he, she, it, or they. Okay, so third person is indicated by the yud, and then the fact that it's third person and plural is indicated by the u sound at the end. Third person plural is they. The 3-letter root of this word is laqah. The lamed of that root disappears in certain constructs of the verb. Number 2, terumah. I'm sorry, number 3, terumah. Terumah, an offering. From the root resh, wall, mem means lifted up. And the idea is that this particular offering or whatever is being given is lifted up, as in lifted up to give to someone, and also lifted up in its sanctity, as being consecrated to a holier purpose. So it's an offering without a set amount, as opposed to other things like the tithe, which is a tenth. In modern Hebrew, this is also the normal term for donation, terumah. Number 4, libo. Libo means his heart. Lev is heart. And then when you add a third person masculine singular possessive indicator on it, it will be added at the end, and that makes it change from lev to libo. So lev is heart, libo is his heart. Number 5, kasef. Kasef. I should have removed the underline here, but sometimes it appears without a dot, so we can change that. In these verses, it actually appears without the dagesh, hence there's an underline here. But normally, when it's by itself in a word not preceded by a vav, it will be with a dagesh, kasef. Kasef means silver, referring to the mineral silver. In biblical times, it also began to refer to currency already way back in biblical times. Later on, it also referred to the color kasef in more recent times, and it is from the Semitic root word that is attested to in ancient Hebrew for yearning or longing, kisuf. I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson and review of the first 3 verses of this week's Torah reading. If you would like more, please subscribe, follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/authentic Torah. Shabbat Shalom.